As I mentioned at the top of the show, there seems to be no one at Parliament House doing anything that might make a practical, real-time difference to the lives of ordinary Australians. Here is another example. Lifeline is overwhelmed with the Suicide Prevention Service taking 500 additional calls each day, many from people they say in financial distress. So let's bring in my panel, columnist Angela Mollard and Amanda Rose, founder of Small Business Western Sydney. Great to see you both. Lovely to have you both in studio as well.
Yeah.
You've been gallivanting the country.
I have, but it's lovely being here.
It's lovely to have you back, and you've just been here the whole time. So
Yeah,
thank
exactly.
you for staying with us. Really appreciate it. But look, what isn't so great is these cost of living crisis, and the Lifeline stats that we got today, Andrew, are awful.
Heartbreaking, 500 more calls than we usually have. That shows, and you know, I've thought a long time about being a Lifeline counsellor. Reading this today made me think I absolutely have to do this. You know, as you say, what is the government doing? But I also think we need to change the language. We keep using the word crisis, and I think when we look back at this cost of living, let's call it an adjustment. Let's look at how we can better prepare people as they come up against these challenges. Let's talk more about children leaving school with some financial education and with some financial counselling, so that they're actually feeling that they have some agency and that they're equipped. I don't for a minute discount that people are in really dire straits. It is heartbreaking what's happening out there, but I sometimes feel that if you can be better equipped, more knowledgeable, and you have access to that information more easily, you always just feel slightly more empowered going into something that can be very difficult.
No, you're right, and it can be so overwhelming, but we all know, and even when we're younger as teenagers, if your mum and dad sit you down and you make a plan, even just making a plan can make you feel so much better. But I think for a lot of people, the plans have run out and they are desperate.
Well, they are, and also you got to understand the people that are volunteering, a lot of them, they're not equipped to be able to handle a lot of the calls that come through, so it puts pressure on them as well. So the Salvation Army used to have the Salvo Care Line, that shut down in 2015, and that was a huge help for people as well. So I think they're not only just fund Lifeline, but expand the services across the not-for-profits and actually have people qualified, train them up, have them on like even a 5-year plan to qualify them, and teach, just like you were saying, teach people on the phone, okay, what is your current situation? What's your budget? Let's work through this. Let's work through some solutions to help you. Just listening is one thing, but they need practical solutions to move forward.
What do you think about politicians, and let's look at the focus of Parliament over the past, not just generally, but over the past couple of weeks. And as I said at the top of the show, I completely understand the need to hold politicians to account. You cannot mislead the Senate, et cetera, et cetera. But what frustrates me, and same as the alleged incidents involving David Van, Brittany Higgins, The Voice, so much time on the public purse is spent going back and forth, and so much of it is political point scoring, let's be honest, so much of it is. Whereas Australians are sitting at home going, anyone who watches, who is stupid enough to watch Question Time, and that's me most days, is going, what the hell is going on? It is so self-indulgent.
It is, and so much time was taken up over, Brittany Higgins and Katie Gallagher and all of that. And, politicians have limited energy. They can't just continue, they have a limited energy and limited time. And when they're focused on negative things and regurgitating of those negative things, then they're not focused on the things where you can actually affect change. And I think, I like to think that most politicians still go into politics with that, it's not about self-aggrandising, it's not about ego. You have to hope that most still go in to do good.
I think most do. I really do. I do. I genuinely do, but
I think that's where you're heading, Erin.
You've got to understand,
so
if you go and actually speak to them, if you go and look at and meet them and find out what they're up to and talk to them, you'd see a lot of them actually don't really care. They either follow a party line and tick a box. Very few take advantage of the power that they have and use it for good. There are some out there, but then if a large party doesn't like them, they get demonised. Or if they're an independent, want to speak up, they get ignored. So I think well,
the Teals, I was planning on having a Teal tally here when they first all came into power, and each week I'd tick off something they'd achieved. I mean, I never started it because I completely forgot until now. But seriously, apart from one or two things.
Yeah. Well, that's right, because it actually takes effort. A lot of people do like the power that it brings them, although what are they doing for the communities they're representing? Very few do anything. So I think we do need to hold them to account, both sides and independent, and say, what have you actually done?
Yeah, maybe that could be
I also think we need a loneliness minister. I think we're talking about Lifeline helping people out.
Don't we have one? Why is that familiar?
Well, Britain has one.
Okay, yes.
Britain has one, and more and more people are going to be living alone. That we know that the stats are showing that direction. So why are people having to ring Lifeline as a last resort? I'm glad you are. That's good that they are. But where did that breakdown of communication within families, where did we stop supporting each other? Are we too busy? Are we so focused on ourselves? So yes, I do look at the politicians, but I do also think, where are our families and where are our communities?
There are wider failings.
More micro level, supporting people.
No, I think it's a really great point. Okay, supporting people, this will be hard. Climate activists have caused havoc at ports for a fifth day. Here's one protester in Melbourne this morning.
There's also a train over here at the moment that's stopped, trying to come out of the port. We're just going to be hanging out here, having some fun.
Fun? Now, Amanda, the New South Wales government is urging Facebook to take down these live streams, of course upsetting the civil liberties advocates. I get the right to protest is incredibly important, but not at the expense and safety of everyone else.
Oh, that's true. 100% agree with that. However, censorship by saying, well, we want to actually stop them from live streaming this. Okay, starts with that. Then what? Then it's next, we want that person to stop live streaming. We want churches to stop live streaming.
But if they're just saying, this is how I feel, stop coal, stop coal, stop coal, fine, absolutely. If they're doing something that's endangering the lives of someone in an ambulance who's trying to get to hospital or someone who's trying to run a small business and is suffering enough, if
yes,
they're
but that's different to live
like,
streaming, right? So
no, but if they're live streaming an action that is causing that damage or stopping an ambulance trying to get through,
that's proof to actually arrest them for doing that.
Well, absolutely,
right?
but it's the same as when we stop live streaming violent action. If they're endangering lives and putting something online that is endangering lives, if they just want to make a point and they're passionate, go for gold, put a video up.
But I just think it's a slippery slope, and I think the government's using these protesters to get something across the line that they've always wanted to do, which is to be able to pick and choose what they want to censor. And don't forget, these protesters, the government has literally put the fear of God in people, saying the world's going to end, coal is evil, this is evil, the climate.
I don't know if the government's done that.
Well, they kind of been behind it, saying if we don't
have... The former government wasn't.
Well, no, but even now, it's if we don't have sustainable energy, the world, this is going to destroy your future generations.
No, you're right. There's a lot of organisations that are putting the fear of God.
Out.
And what do you think?
I bloody loathe them. I don't want to see them. Look, I'm all for free speech, but this is a moment where it's just like, to your point, Erin, that we all have democratic rights. I have the democratic right to be safe. As you say, everybody has the democratic right to get to where they need to be. And look, the fact is that social media is really just giving them attention. I sometimes think, mate, if you're in a totality, did you see that guy? I don't think, he's an environmentalist protester. I'm sure that makeup he was wearing was not environmental.
Mind you, that eyeliner was incredible. How did we get that shape?
It was probably natural.
Very quickly, Vegemite is too much, too much, too much. Vegemite.
No, but we need more brewer's yeast in our Vegemite and less salt.
Yeah, right.
We need more butter with the Vegemite.
That is my point. As long as you lather it with butter, I don't care how much Vegemite you put on. Ladies, brilliant as always. Angela Mollard and Amanda Rose, thank you both so very much for joining.